Quick reminder, if you're not already on it, the Eurosport Superbikes podcast is now up and running. It's called Full Throttle, hosted by Greg Haynes. All the previous episodes already online, and there'll be a new episode for you to download from tomorrow. The race is coming thick and fast here now at Oulton Park, and the boys already out on the warm-up lap here for the Dickies British Supersport feature race. So let's get straight back to the commentary box where James Hayden has made his way to join Jack Bernacle.
Jack Kennedy will start from pole position. He currently leads the championship by 35 points after managing to get the better of Ben Curry yesterday. They finished second and third behind EHA Racing new boy Alistair Seeley. James Rispoli in third on 204 points ahead of James Westland, Geerlink Kawasaki. David Allingham on EHA Racing Yamaha, and Bradley Jones on the second of the Integral Yamahas. The grid is headed by Jack Kennedy, championship leader, Alistair Seeley. There was a little bit of blood spilled between them really after yesterday's race. Seeley felt everything was fairly fair and square. Jack Kennedy not quite as keen on the outcome. Ben Curry in third place said that he really couldn't get any better than that on the Geerlink Kawasaki, but of course these kind of conditions might play into his hands. James Rispoli, Brad Jones, Kyle Ryde, now riding for the Mavuno.com Halsall Racing team, is there in sixth ahead of James Westland, Tom Oliver for SGR Racing, and Josh Owens, GP2 leader. Jamie Perrin, David Allingham and Sam Wilford form up row 4 ahead of Bjorn Esmond, Harry Truelove and Keenan Armstrong. 30 riders on the grid, from Jack Kennedy back to Ben Tolliday in 33rd place. So the conditions still a bit sketchy, and you've got to look at, well, Alistair Seeley's brilliant in sketchy conditions. So too is the Australian Ben Curry in orange and green. Let's see who gets the start. The lights go on. When the lights go out, we're off with the 15-lapper. And Curry doesn't get such a good start. Kennedy gets a strong start as he goes in from the outsider. But look, Curry comes through. Not quite. The leader is Alistair Seeley, and he's kind of your danger man. He could really take this race by the scruff of the neck for EHA Racing in these kind of conditions.
Yeah, good start from Seeley, as you say, just behind him Curry, and then third spot Kennedy, and really looking forward. It was a great little race yesterday, very, very close between those three, and it was definitely a little bit of needle. I wonder if we're going to see a bit more of that today.
And it was noticeable that James Westmoreland got a good start as well. Former 1-2-5 lap record holder around here. He's nipped through into 5th place straight off the start, ahead of James Rispoli. So good start for him, and that means that Westmoreland then is on the back of the leading group, which is where he said he needs to be. And I think Kyle Ryde's nipped ahead of him then on his... I beg your pardon, I thought Kyle Ryde was up there, but not quite. He's a couple of places behind on the Mavuno.com Halsall Racing bike on his debut weekend with them. Here comes Ben Curry sitting right in behind Alistair Seeley. He's got the better of Jack Kennedy, and with Jack Kennedy, his teammate Brad Jones. Yeah, and I was going to say Ben Curry, and he makes a little move there at Knickerbrook. He really is so good in these conditions. We've seen him win probably 80% of his races in the wet. You know, he really is a master of the Australian. Number 61 out front there, and on the green and orange, Geerlink Kawasaki. So keep a close eye on him. There's Rispoli as well, right behind James Westmoreland. So a gap has just opened up in front of those two. So Westmoreland not quite matching the pace of those men at the front. But look at Curry already bravely tagging a bit of time and sliding himself into Lodge Corner. Yeah, they've got to be careful here as well, because Curry, if he just gets in his rhythm now this early on in the race, he could check out. So they've really got to keep it in mind. Having said that, Seeley and Kennedy, both of which are no mugs, as we see Rispoli just to jump up the inside of Westmoreland. They're no mugs in the wet either, though, as I was saying. And that was a nice move by James Rispoli there. He really, the barn door was kind of left open, but look at this, Seeley goes back onto the back wheel then. I always hold my breath when they're coming out of Cascades. Yeah, but even going into it, Seeley going into Cascades then was exceptional. You just saw how much time he took out of Curry, and it's downhill, it's bumpy, and he's looking, he has a big moment there. It's 110 miles an hour. Just the rear tyre just span up, but very smooth and neat. He didn't panic, he just rolled it, and it came back in line. So nice stuff there from Alistair Seeley. And he's really been a welcome addition to this class, on the EHA bike, and
filling in, and he's just done a superb job and fitted in and added another person to the opportunity. Now watch the bike in second spot, number 34. Oh, it's on the seam. You just see the little seam in the track, and he just gets the power on it, spins up and flicks him out.
So like you said, there was no kind of undue body movement at all. He just backed it for a moment, held it and went.
He doesn't move that much anyway, Seeley, in that way. He's a very classic, old-school style rider. He doesn't stick his knee out very far. He's very smooth. I mean, brilliant rider, very fast. And we've seen him win on all sorts of bikes.
So once again, locked together, almost inevitably, Alistair Seeley and Jack Kennedy. Behind Kennedy, a strong ride from his 20-year-old teammate, Brad Jones.
That is so true. I mean, he's doing a brilliant job, number 12 there, and this is the best that we've seen in him. So Jones doing a good job. And
I guess, James, if you see the people ahead of you, the more experienced guys able to do lap times like they're doing, you've got to think, well, I should be able to just about match them. I've got the same sort of bike, the same tyres as they have, the same grip.
Exactly. Well, he's on identical bike to number 4, Jack Kennedy. So exactly that. And you can see fast lap of the race there, 148.9. The lap record is a 137.3 in the dry. So that just gives you a little idea. But at the moment, Curry, the only man in the 48s, 49.0 for Seeley, 49.0 for Jack Kennedy, and then 149.8 for Jones.
And as it stands in the championship, that would obviously reduce the deficit of race leader Ben Curry on Jack Kennedy. 26 points it would drop to, and of course these guys have got a fair bit of racing to do yet. They'll go to Assen in the Netherlands, so they've got 4 more races after this one, so 100 points will still be up for grabs.
And the other thing that it's got to be pointed out here, it had rain like mad here, but then it's actually warmed up, the sun sort of come out in places. That track is drying up, and there's a time in a track when it's drying, where it goes through from being kind of wet with some grip to like a slimy, really slippery condition, and it's going to be slightly awkward. The guys are going to be adapting, and we're going to see lap times just get quicker and quicker and quicker. There's a bit of sun there. You can still see it's grey in places, but it's warm enough out there now. So this track is really going to change. You can see there's spray in places now that it's just starting to go. There's a vague line just sort of cutting through there. So you've really got to be on the case in these conditions and pick up where the grip is.
And the man from Dublin versus the man from, obviously in Southern Ireland, against the man from Carrickfergus, 10 miles outside Belfast in Northern Ireland. That's the battle that's being taken on once again, just as it was. Well, yesterday, of course, they were in front of Ben Curry. This time, in these marginal conditions, they're just half a second or so behind the flying Australian. As Ben Curry crosses the line, fastest lap of the race, 48.1, but only a 10th second than Seeley.
Yeah, so they're dropping Jones now. He's a little bit further back. He was in the 50s on that lap, so he was 1.8 seconds slower, but he's still got a nice Cushman and Westmoreland behind him as we look a little further back in the field.
Here's number 77, Kyle Wright, adapting back to the Super Sport bike. Good to see Doncaster's Keenan Armstrong in all black there reappearing. He's in 10th place, running ahead of Wright and just behind David Allingham on the second EHA Racing Yamaha.
This is a really good section of the track for Alistair Seeley and Jack Kennedy. They seem just to take a little bit back out of Ben Curry, who seems to pull a bit on that last section of the track. And this, like we said earlier, they've got to be very careful because he's just going, oh, we got a safety car out, we're hearing. The safety cars come out. You can see the flag there.
And I think there's been a mishap at Knickerbrook. Someone's gone down at Knickerbrook. And I think it's the lad who was last on the grid, Tolliday, who's gone down at Knickerbrook. So these guys, and look at that threatening cloud behind them as they come over the brow of the hill and drop down towards Hizzy's chicane and Knickerbrook.
So keep an eye out here. This is where the incident should be. You see the yellow flag there. So it's in this section. Is on the left-hand side.
That's it.
He's high-sided coming out. Almost certainly. You can just see, just when you get on the throttle, it's span and flicked him. So the guys just having a look at him. Let's hope he's okay at the moment. Now, obviously, this is just going to count down some laps behind the safety car. Everyone's going to gather back up again. We can't see the safety car yet in our picture.
So I'm sure we'll see it soon enough. So that's the young man from Scarborough, Ben Tolliday, for the team Tolly by J3 PSO Limited.
I tell you,
riding Yamaha, or was riding Yamaha.
And some of these other guys in these conditions will be, you know, obviously it's concertina's the grid back up again. So someone like Jones, who just started dropping off, you know, gives him another chance. And actually all the guys, with Spoli as well, you know, he's good in the wet, so he didn't get the best of starts. Whereas now, when they restart, you can see the safety car there. Now when the BMW, they're just coming down the straight. But now when they restart, they'll be much, much closer. And if you're in the groove now, we might just see a few of those guys taking advantage when it restarts.
So the safety car out. This will shuffle everybody up. While we're at it, by the way, lying in 6th place overall, Josh Owens, the man who's dominating the GP2 Cup, is struggling to get a ride for next year. He wants to run a GP2 bike again. It may be down to him and his dad to do it. So the young Liverpudlian needs a bit of help. He's hoping that Josh Owens Racing 65 at gmail.com might attract a few potential sponsors. So if you're up for helping out the talented young Scouser, then he's looking for help for next year.
Yeah, while you're just reading that as well, Tolliday was just taken across to the inside of the track on a stretcher there, Jack. So moving into just getting into the right area. So all gathering up behind the safety car at the moment.
There is Josh Owens, who wants to say thank you to Ryan Saxelby for that brilliant K-Lex he's been riding this year, which has set him up so handily for dominating the GP2 class. There's number 77, Kyle Wright, just ahead of number 27, Bjorn Estment. They're running in 11th and 12th places. Sam Wilford, Bradley Peary and Ross Patterson are the guys down to 15th place.
Let's keep a little eye on the safety car's lights. They were still flashing when we last saw them. So it looks like
another lap.
Yeah, it's another lap at the moment. So the safety car light's still going on. And as they come down, it's just important because you can see even with the car going quite fast here, the bikes, you're losing temperature in your tyres, you're losing temperature in your brakes. So you've just got to be a bit careful when the race does restart, because the bike that you were riding isn't as quite as warm and set in as it was.
And incidentally, that guy that we complimented, number 12, running in 4th place, Bradley Jones from way down in Stalbridge in the West Country there, he actually proved his prowess here at Oulton Park by winning a Superstock 600 race here last year on his way to 3rd place in the championship. It's that lovely little old nugget about the guy liking a particular track and finding it just to his liking, and he performs well round it. So Bradley Jones running in a strong 4th place, or at least he was. He's now going to find that the second Gearlink bike of James Westman is going to be right with him.
Well, they're all going to be right with him. As you can see, the safety car lights have gone off, which means that it is going to pull in on this lap. So they can't change position. Seeley's just obviously, I know he rolled past the split second there.
Just cheekily letting him know he's there, James. Just thinking, a little psychological moment there, just to let him know he's right with him.
And that's right. And as I say there, you've got to be a bit careful for these certainly the first half lap. You know, your tyres will have lost a load of temperature, maybe 40%. So you've just got to be a bit careful, just getting them up going again. And it's no one can pass until the start-finish line, and that man, Ben Curry, in front, number 61, he's the man that can decide that. He can drop back a little bit, he can stay right on the back of it. It's up to him exactly what he does. But the most important thing is, if you're in the pack, is to be right on the guy in front, try and square it off and get a good drive so you can pass just after the start-finish line.
So Ben Curry, then, the man governing this, what's going to happen next? It's always a bit, I rather like these second starts mid-race to see how the man at the front decides that he's going to play the game. So we're completing the 6th of 15 laps. So it's turning into a sprint race as it was yesterday. The sprint race yesterday was a 12-lapper. We're going to have a 9-lapper here ahead of these guys. Once, look at that, Seeley hanging right behind that Gearlink Kawasaki. He's not going to give the leader an inch here. So a man who wasn't introduced to road racing as opposed to motocross until 2012, back home in Australia, the man in the bright pink helmet, Ben Curry, just leads the way. And at some point, he's going to have to make a move here and decide. And there he goes, suddenly as he comes through the hollow there. He makes a move. Alistair Seeley brilliantly hangs on to him and responds instantly and goes for that pass. That was the trademark pass that he was pulling yesterday when he went for those early apexes at turn 1. He's done it again to Curry.
I think Kennedy might have got him as well. And that's what you call caught napping.
Yes, and Ben Curry didn't expect quite such a ferocious onslaught, and suddenly the two guys who beat him yesterday...
Oh, someone's wide! He's going to be dodgy there on the grass. It's slippy as anything. He's got to be very careful.
Tom Oliver on the SGR racing bike all the way down from Morpeth in North Cumbria. That team, what a shame for them. He'd been running strongly in the first half, running in 8th place, and by the time he regains dry land, or dry-ish land, he's going to be well downfield at the back, in fact.
Yeah, well, he's unlucky to keep it upright. There's a little trench there as well by the look of it. So this is, if you watch the left-hand side of the picture, he's just well wide in the brakes, and this is the bit where a little bit of angle, that glass is like ice, so he does very well. Look how bumpy it is as well. Bit of off-road skills coming in. Back at the front, Seeley, Kennedy, and his Curry having a little look up the inside here. Not quite.
He will be, because you know, he'll be relishing these conditions, and I would think relishing the task ahead of him. He'll look at these two guys as guys that he can out-muscle or out-break at some moment. He has a nasty little moment going up Clay Hill, just to warn him how far he can push that Gearlink Kawasaki.
And we're just hearing Tolliday, who had the crash. He's conscious, talking to the medics, so that's good news. But back at the front, it's Alistair Seeley, and he's just coming out. This is a good place to park. Let's have a little look at Kennedy. Is he going to have a little look at the inside on this lap? No, but I think Curry will.
Curry definitely will have a look up inside his championship rival, Jack Kennedy, and he very neatly slips through into second place. So Kennedy, as you might expect, on the move again. So the former national super stock and super sport champion, Alistair Seeley, backing it in outrageously from way out wide. He didn't need to go for the early apex then. He wasn't trying to pull a pass. He didn't defend his line. He just went for a huge, fast swoop round Old Hall corner.
I mean, isn't it funny? Just before the safety car, it looked like Curry was just easing away and maybe cruising off to a win, and suddenly it's been restarted. He's lost his position. It's Alistair Seeley who's looking very, very strong.
Funnily enough, Alistair Seeley's first road race was on a Yamaha R6 back in 2002, the Dundrod 150. He got back home in Northern Ireland. He's gone kind of full circle here. He was back with Yamaha, an idea that was only hatched a week on Thursday, just before the racing weekend at Silverstone, when he took victory in the sprint race. Well, he took victory in the sprint race again yesterday, and he's got with company throughout. In his battle with Jack Kennedy, he only nipped past him on the final turn, and now he's got Ben Curry very anxious to find a way through, and he does steal the lead. Curry just slips through then, a neat semi-block pass, but as long as the Gearlink Kawasaki's got the oomph. Here comes Kennedy. He takes advantage of the space that was opened up by this Kawasaki, and he slips past as well. So Seeley suddenly back to third place.
Well, what we'd found all season as well was Kennedy and Curry had been in a class of their own. No one could touch them, and even though people might have hung with them for a few laps, they eventually dropped off. But Seeley's the first person this season that's really been able to stick it with them, keep it with them, and it's nice to see someone else just getting in the mix here. And look at Westmoreland, he's just slipping up the inside of Jones there, so good move from Westmoreland. So behind them, you've got Rispoli and Owens. They're in a big dice too.
Oh, nice move by Bradley Jones. He just kept it tight and pinned it and moved back through Dearleaf. Got the better of Westmoreland again. Westmoreland responds straight away. A hugely experienced former 125 British Superbike and Super Sport star, runner-up in 125 and Super Sport championships over the years. James Westmoreland moves back into fourth place. So a quick glance over his shoulder from Bradley Jones presumably tells him that the track is clear immediately behind him, so he can focus on getting back in front of Westmoreland.
Yeah, and you can see also Curry fast slapped the race on that last lap of 1:47.3, which is half a second quicker than Kennedy, and nearly a 0.9 of a second quicker than Seeley. So a really, really strong lap from Kennedy, and again, they're going to have their work cut out to hang on to him. You just see a little dry line is starting to cut through their faces. It's just that darker patch where the bikes have just been continually going over it. Not much spray now as well, just in a few places, much less spray. And again, you just see the dry line starting to come. And when it does come, it's so narrow when it first emerges in most places. It's a little thing you've got to be very, very careful of.
How long does it take for the wet weather tyres to begin to become a little unwieldy, shall we say, in these conditions? We've got a fair while yet.
Yeah, and you know, they're really good, these Pirelli wets now, and they take the drying conditions very, very well. So they'll be all right at the moment. It's all the same as well. You're hanging in. You have to think about it a bit. Don't excessively spin it. Don't take too much off it. But at the same time, now they're not shifting water. Now they're not doing the job they were designed to do. You need a different, slightly different thing out of it.
The Ryan Sachs will be racing Kalex there in black and yellow. Josh Owens, that man who's looking for some kind of backing to come racing again next year, has pushed his way through. He's passed Rispoli and before the pace car came out, and now he's closed the gap on these two. That clear track has evaporated as we see Bradley Jones confidently attacking James Westmoreland.
Yeah, well, you can see that Owens there circulating much quicker, 48.0, so he was nearly a second quicker. And look at that, Jack Kennedy has responded, 146.4. It's the first time we've seen a 46 in the race. Curry was also on a 46, and Seeley was on a 47. But back with this dice for the 4th, 5th, 6th spot. But I was just saying that Owens really quick, a second a lap quicker than these boys on the last lap. So he's just he doesn't have quite the top speed of these other bikes, but his handles a little bit better than a proper Grand Prix bike.
Here is that battle at the front. Look at this, and Seeley at this moment, I wouldn't expect him to get dropped, but right now he's just slightly off the pace of those front two, and it's becoming the Curry and Kennedy show once again at this moment in time. But on the 10th lap of 15, with that dry line really showing through as they go through the Hizzy chicane there.
That makes me think, well, I just wonder whether he's had a little moment off screen somewhere, Seeley, you know, because it wasn't a lot, it was just about a second, and he's just lost that really important gap. So he finds himself in third. Kennedy, as I say, absolutely desperate to keep winning. You know, this is the man that leads the championship in second, and the man who's in second is in first.
Oh, Seeley really pedalling on as he comes over the brow of the hill out of Druids. And Kennedy always looks kind of safe and rock steady as he goes into that final turn. And then he really bullets out of Deer Leap to try and gain some ground on the remorseless Curry.
Yeah, he's a really smooth rider, is Alistair Seeley. You know, he doesn't slide it a lot. He's not extravagant. He just goes about his job really neatly. As we see, look like we're about to see Owens slip up the inside of Jones there, but it didn't quite happen.
If Josh Owens can run, obviously as a GP2 bike, he can run slicks in dry weather. Is there any difference in his wet weather rubber between him and the Supersport guys?
No, no. Yeah, no, they're all the same in wets. I mean, obviously, being the GP, they're designed to run on slicks in the dry, but with everybody choosing wets. And again, you see the little dry patches starting to cut through in spots. This is one of the wettest bits coming out of Ireland. And then you can see a dry line just again starting to come through here in a couple of areas. And look at that, Kennedy's right on the back of him.
Kennedy is sneaking up. Just as I was admiring Bradley Jones's robust repelling of that attack by Josh Owens, he's really riding strongly. And here's his teammate, Jack Kennedy, number 4. Still remember with those rider aids, those sawn off ends of motocross handlebars nailed to the side, each side of the bike, with plenty of padding around him to support his knees because of that lingering hand injury.
Yeah, look at that. It's a nice dry line as you come up over Clay Hill. And you saw, just coming out of Knickerbrook, Curry's bike just really twitchy. He was just asking a bit too much for it. He just spun up, didn't have to back off the throttle. But my point is, you can see how hard he's riding. These guys are the only guys in the 46s, the 146s, and they are absolutely on it.
I'm quite impressed with Jack Kennedy matching Curry in the, we've seen Curry be so exceptional in damp weather before now, and it's good to see Jack Kennedy actually realising he can match his pace, and very much is matching his pace. 46.7, 46.6, the two of them on that lap.
Yeah, very much so. And also this middle section of the track, this kind of first, the middle bit, is where Kennedy is really quick. Seems like Curry's just got the edge over him on the last third, but this middle section, I think we find that you just see him just constantly again, back on the back wheel again. But it's right, Curry has seemed like the rain master of the last few, but he's been matched here today.
Kennedy really close, and another moment for the Gaelic Kawasaki. Into Shell Oil's 12th lap of 15. We've got 3 more laps to sort this one out at the end of this one. And then, of course, we have 2 races at Assen in 2 weeks' time, and then a couple of weeks after that we'll be at the grand finale at Brands Hatch to decide the championship.
Yeah, I mean, one of the difficulties that Kennedy's got here is he's got to try and be close enough to make a move, not just be closing up. And at the moment, with Curry being quick in that last third, that might be problematic for him.
Finally, Josh Owens has got the better there of Brad Jones, and he moves through into 5th place, behind Westmoreland. And in fact, now he could get Westmoreland in his sights. So the Kalex GP2 bike, middle of those 3 bikes. Behind these guys, Rispoli, Allingham, Keenan Armstrong still having a good ride in 9th ahead of Bjorn Estmond in 10th. Kyle Wright in 11th place. And as they come charging down towards Lodge Corner, this is really kind of tantalising stuff between these two. Has Kennedy got something in reserve? Is Kennedy's not... There's no visible mistake or flicker of kind of instability from the Yamaha yet.
No, I mean, again, he's another very measured on the throttle, and you don't really see too much, but a really aggressive rider. Now watch the Owens move. Oh, Jones, a little touch there. So Jones comes in quite late. He says sorry because it was a bit cheeky, but Jones actually gets him back a bit. So just in a little bit hot there at Shell Oils.
I think Josh just ignored the apology. He just thought, I'll just have you back. That's the easiest way, and went for it. So this is the battle for the lead in the race. It's also the battle, of course, for the championship. We're on the 13th lap of 15.
You could feel and see his intent there, couldn't you, Kennedy? He absolutely wants to take this. He was really disappointed yesterday to get beaten.
He was, and really visibly so, wasn't he? He was quite disgruntled after the race.
Yeah, and you don't normally see that from Jack. Really nice guy, hard rider, fair rider, but yeah, he was a little out of sorts after yesterday's race, and he's going to be desperate to try and take this. But it's going to be, it's just going to be finding that spot for that move, especially when Curry's so good at the last turn.
It's a kind of battle of the cultures, isn't it? A German-born Australian from down in Victoria State against a lifelong Dubliner in second place. Ben Curry versus Jack Kennedy, meeting here in leafy Cheshire near the Delamere Forest.
So we just got 2 turns to go until we finish and start the penultimate lap. And again, look, Curry is so strong on the brakes there. So, which makes me think Kennedy has to have got that move wrapped up before, and he's got to block him. He's got to have learned from yesterday. As we start lap 14 of 15, he hasn't got long now, about 8 miles to get this move done.
And a bit more of a spray, a splash of spray as they go up the short start and finish straight, drop down the long avenue towards Cascades, through Denton's, that kind of right-hand flick, and then into the left-hander. That used to, of course, to be a big right-hander on the original circuit that opened in the 1950s, taking you off to the right there and up Clay Hill. Now, this is the extension.
That is, and this is where Kennedy's quite quick. He's looked really good in this next left-hander, but look how late Curry was on the brakes there. But watch Kennedy roll it through. Is he going to have a little look up the inside here? No, again, Curry's so strong on the brakes there.
And at the moment, Curry's he's riding all the lines he needs to do just to keep Jack Kennedy behind him. Curry's just somehow got that Kawasaki where it needs to be. Dropping into Britain's, just avoiding that curve.
That's cost him. That's cost him dearly. Just got a bit too much throttle span up, and he had to shut it, and he probably lost 2-3 tenths of a second there.
And this on the 14th lap of 15, so look at that gap that he'd sawn off has got opened up again. So the Integral, here it is.
Watch his rear wheel now. It's only a little bit, but it's just enough. He was just squeezing it because he knew he needed that drive, and maybe he could have a look up the inside. So he doesn't have to win this race. He's leading the championship, of course, but you know what you have to do and what you want to do, they're not.
Jack Kennedy, it's amazing how that's opened up the gap, and it's given Ben Curry just that kind of push that he needed. I suppose, would he realise, will he know, will he not be able to hear the Yamaha right behind him? Certainly, he's got that advantage now as he crosses the line for the penultimate time. So Ben Curry leads the way for Galen Kawasaki, looking to avenge his defeat of yesterday. He took it very sportingly yesterday. He felt he was never truly in contention. They'd changed gearing and meddled with the bike, and it wasn't really working in the dry as he wanted it to. It's certainly working in the wet or the damp.
Yeah, that moment cost him half a second actually on the lap times, and that's what you can see there. But we've just heard the Tolliday has been released to the medical centre, so that's good to hear. The Tolliday, who brought out the safety car earlier, is okay. It's one of the Wigleys.
Sorry, Wiggly. It's probably sorry, Wigleys. We're never sure. I think that might. I'm not sure. So one of the Wigleys has gone down. Now that was number 99.
So that is Matthew. So this is it. This is the last lap here. And what can Jack Kennedy do? He's actually brought a little bit, again, is his strongest part. There's a back marker coming up as well. I think he's probably just a bit too far ahead, but he could play a factor. But this is a nice lap for Jack.
So Kennedy on his final lap, putting everything into it. Look at that with those two superb elements. The bright pink one leading the shamrock of Irishman Dubliner Jack Kennedy as they come through the Hislop chicane, head for the Clay Hill for the final time. And I think they will come up on this back marker at some point. Now, this is quite an intriguing one as they surge up the hill, though. Ben Curry really did string out a bit of an advantage. He's riding on the edge now. And of course, he's got nothing to lose. He trails in the championship. He needs these points to pull back. He'd pull 5 points back and get himself back into that position here as they head past the number 11 machine. And he looks over his shoulder, but it's all right. He's not going to, well, he may get in the way, but it matters little because Ben Curry has got this wrapped up. Ben Curry will take victory here at Oulton Park and respond after the defeat of yesterday. Ben Curry, Michael Dibidaff, the Gearlinks Kawasaki team owner, delighted as ever. Jack Kennedy finishes second place. Alistair Seeley finishes in third place. Fourth place goes to Westmoreland. Josh Owens on the GP2 Kalex ahead of Bradley Jones, I think will come across the line. He does now in sixth place ahead of James Rispoli. But elation then for Michael Dibidaff and their team, because Ben Curry has once again brought home victory, as he did on the second day at Silverstone.
Yeah, and he's good, as we said, he's good in these conditions, but he was under a lot of pressure from Jack Kennedy, who pressed him all the way, but that little mistake on a penultimate lap, it just cost him, because he couldn't quite get back in touch. But the Australian there, Ben Curry, doing exactly what he needed to do to put the pressure back on Kennedy. But a good race, and that closes up. He takes 5 points out of him there, 25 to Jack's 20, so he'll be pleased with that, well pleased.
And he visually produces the traditional stand-up Troy Corser wheelie, which most Australians, I suspect, master at some point during their careers. So strong ride then, and a good ride for Jack Kennedy. And it was just that one, amazing, because it didn't look like that much of a twitch coming out of Britain's, but it was enough to put him on the back foot and just prevent him launching a last lap assault. Robin Appleyard McAdam Integro backed Yamaha team then. Alistair Seeley vaulting himself a wheelie over the brow of the hill. He finishes in third place, so he's bringing some super consistent results to the AHA racing team.
He certainly is. And it was also his easy condition to make a mistake in that sort of race. Those sort of conditions, the guys got the championship, so that's the other thing. Jack Kennedy didn't need to think about his championship. It didn't. Ultimately, yes, he loses 5 points. It's much more important they didn't lose 25.
Yeah. So Ben Curry wins it then eventually by 1.983 seconds from Jack Kennedy. Alistair Seeley, EHA Yamaha, finishes third. James Westmoreland, Gearlink Kawasaki, good outing for them, first and fourth, ahead of Josh Owens Kalex. Brad Jones on the Integro Yamaha leads two more Yamahas, James Rispoli and Bjorn Esmond on the Everquip Yamahas. Good ride from the South African Esmond, ahead of Keenan Armstrong. Solid ride from the Doncaster boy in black. David Allingham 10th, ahead of Tom Oliver, who recovered brilliantly after that huge off-course excursion. What a ride by Oliver. Ahead of Kyle Ride, Richard Kerr, Kurt Wigley, Tommy Philp, and the final championship point will go to Bradley Peary, with Mike Brewers, the second GP2 bike, down in 20th place. Championship standings then, still the Dickies British Supersport Championship headed by Jack Kennedy after 20 races, 30 points ahead of Ben Curry. James Rispoli in third place, clear by 10 points of James Westmoreland, who's creeping up on him. Allingham and Bradley Jones tied together now in fifth place on 167, ahead of Sam Wilford, Ross Twyman, Tom Oliver and Jamie Perrin. 11th place for Seeley now. He's leapt up with that third place, ahead of Bradley Peary. Bjorn Esmond just 3 points back in 13th, ahead of Tim Neve. And Tommy Philp for Draper Racing Yamaha goes top 15 ahead of Kurt Wigley. Ben Curry then has taken another victory here at Oulton Park, and that's a really, really good ride for the Gearlink Kawasaki. Brilliant response to his defeat yesterday. He's come back again in the feature race and claimed victory.
And for the second week in succession, Ben, you've turned things around overnight from Saturday to Sunday and come up with another win. Well done.
Yeah, a little bit fortunate with the rain and, give us a little bit more of a competitive package today. So grateful for that, but, still have to cross that line in first place, and that's what we did. We took the opportunity. It's a shame Seeley couldn't get involved and get in front of Jack, but it is what it is. We'll go to Assen now and just keep battling. So I just want to say huge thanks to Gearlink Kawasaki, all my sponsors, Diamond Recruitments, Athlone Events Catering, happy birthday to Lucy Miller, my girlfriend's sister, and hello to my mum and dad, and just thanks for everyone. Roll on, let's keep doing it.
We'll see you there. Thanks, Ben. Great. Great stuff. So the Dickies British Supersport Championship rolls on to Essendon in a couple of weeks' time. But next up, we go back to Portimao for World Superbike Race 2. Stay with us for that.